What is going on, guys? It has been a minute. Missed a full week on this channel. I apologize for that, but my day job has been sucking my soul out from under me, working long hours, so I apologize for that. But we're back this week, and we're here to talk about some great topics within the comic book news. We're talking about some movie stuff, we're talking about some comic book stuff, and we're talking about some print runs, both print runs for 2 independent books. So I'm super excited to get into that because love independent comics on this channel. These, I would say, are more small press rather than independent. But before we get into that, as people are coming into the chat right now, welcoming people into the chat, I also want to welcome the panelists to talk about these topics tonight. As usual, Mr. Tales from the Flip Side himself, Brian McClay. What's going on?
Thank you, Wood. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it. It's been a crazy couple weeks.
don't sound too excited yet. Everyone's tired this evening, but love this show. It always gives us that shot in the arm to carry on. And another YouTuber, you guys might know him from Dank Comics. If you don't know him from Dank Comics, make sure you check out that YouTube channel. But let's bring Dan in here. What's going on, Dan?
What up, everyone? Good to see everyone. Good to be here.
Yes.
Let's talk comics.
And we also have a special guest with us tonight. Another Simple Man's Comics Patreon member, but he also has a Facebook comic book group. Make sure you guys check that out for the Rhinos Comics, RHYNOS. And we want to bring Ryan in here. What's up, Ryan?
What's up, guys?
Yeah, I love people supporting the Falcons right now because between my Washington football team, my Florida State Seminoles, misery loving company. But then I'll just turn the hat around because I know Drew will be coming into the chat soon. At least I got one team still up on top for the time being. But lastly, and certainly not least, the producer, the clicker, also his own YouTube channel, Mr. Comic Man Andy.
What's up, guys? We're looking for some good energy this week. This is going to be a blast. And Brian, I'm always here to push your buttons, brother.
Stay tuned. I'm sure we have plenty of dad jokes to come or other jokes. Who knows? But we're going to have a great conversation tonight. Again, we got Josh G. We got Derek Riley coming into the chat. Thank you guys so much for watching. And we're going to get right into it. We all know we had Spawn. We had Spawn Universe. Then we had King Spawn. The next big one coming up is Gunslinger Spawn. And it is breaking records right now with pre-orders as well. It has pre-sold 385,000 copies already. They're saying that is the largest pre-order in 25 years for a superhero. I think superhero is maybe loosely defined, but one key thing that I noticed within that article is it outsold Spider-Gwen #1, which was at 300,000 copies. I know there's some people that love a high print run, a lot of people that don't like a high print run because high print run means less scarcity. But either way, I think this is a good thing for comics. People that are talking about, comic industry is dying, I think a lot of that might be the speculation and flipper because there's a larger print run. But from a comic fan and a comic reader, and I'm not even the biggest Spawn fan, I've said that multiple times, I'm excited to see this. What are your guys' thoughts? Brian, are you excited for, Gunslinger Spawn? It's not a nameless person. People are well aware of this character.
No, I love this character. Absolutely love this character. A book that I've been hoarding for years. His first appearance. And I don't know. I guess the question is, have we seen all the covers yet? What do the covers look like? I'm kind of looking at the covers right now. Anytime McFarlane does any art, I think it's good, especially when it's Spawn. And he looks like he's got Capullo on a couple of ones. I think it's good. And you know what? They're going to be doing the signature on there, the 1 in 1,000, right? 1 in 250. Sorry, 1 in 250 is going to have his signature on. There's going to be 1,500 of them, I think they said, which isn't crazy, but it isn't limited. I'm cool for Spawn anything, man. I'm cool for Spawn anything. Matter of fact, I just got done. I was going through some stuff and I found some of the Alamo Draft House ones when he was doing the 300 and 301 record breaker. And I went to Alamo Draft House, stood in line to get those. You know, he was there signing. Like Todd McFarlane, Spawn, anything that Todd McFarlane does, I'm cool for.
Comic Mandy. Isn't that what Chad said? You're on mute.
Yeah, pro tip right there. I feel like you're
maybe
right
we,
there. With
maybe we didn't want to hear the first words that came out of your mouth after calling you Comic Mandy.
It's true. I feel like you're right using the term, like, is that term the superhero kind of loose with Spawn, but like Spawn fans are fanatics, man, like straight up fanatics. Am I surprised that this print run went that high? Not really. In all actuality, we're talking one of the hottest Spawn characters. I mean, they even compared it in the article to like a 20-something Clint Eastwood. And I don't even read Spawn regularly, but that comment alone makes me want to read this book.
Yeah, and I mean, I've actually started with Spawn Universe, King Spawn. I've kind of picked some of these up just because I don't know as much. I'm not a Spawn fan, like we said, but I think it's a good jumping on point.
Did you guys see the covers yet?
I have.
Nope.
All right, let me share my screen. This is absolutely amazing. Look at this Capullo cover.
Yeah, that was the one that's the one I picked in the Final Word Cutoff video for sure.
I love how Greg Capullo has his own boards with his face on them.
I like it because you got a classic Spawn cover artist, or interior art for that matter. But Greg Capullo.
Capullo is another one of those guys where I'm like cool with anything he does. He seems like just a cool, really cool dude that he'd be cool to have a beer with. Yeah. He's got some of the best art. He really rarely does anything but like Spawn and Batman. Like I really enjoy Greg Capullo's stuff. That's absolutely gorgeous.
What about you, Dan? Are you a Spawn fan at all, or?
Well, I think Spawn is like kind of overdue for a CU, like a MC, like a Spawn CU, and it's still, in terms of cinematic universes and superheroes, it's still a twist, kind of, even though it came out the movie or whatever. But compared to all the MCU and DCU characters, the idea of an assassin that goes to hell and has to come, and he gets tricked, and it's so iconic. So the question, and I guess, the question is, are they going to nail that shit? I think that's the real, everyone's waiting on. What the fuck's going on with that CU?
Yeah, good question. I will tell you, I don't want to say he doesn't get enough credit, because I think he definitely does get enough credit, but Todd McFarlane's a freaking genius. I mean, when you talk about branding, Todd McFarlane, is at the top of his game with what he's done for Spawn, what he's done with McFarlane Toys. I mean, if you might not know the character, you're definitely familiar with him from the toy lines. I mean, the Kickstarter, I think, was super successful. I think even Tony, who kind of just joined us, I want to welcome Tony to the panel as well. Blue Green Artifacts on Instagram and whatnot. Make sure you guys check them out. But I know, Tony, you picked up a couple of those Kickstarter figures, right?
I did, yeah. I got this set of 3, and really, I do dabble in toys, I guess, but I actually bought them for the books, for the comics. They had quite a print run too. I think over 20,000 sets went out the door. But yeah, no, Dan, I agree with you. I think we're overdue with everything else that's being developed out there. This character and these storylines are ripe. To me, it feels one of the big impediments is Todd McFarlane himself. I don't know. It reminds me a little bit. Well, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like George Lucas, like genius, great guy, created this, very talented, very creative, but in trying to bring his creation forward, can't get out of his own way. A little too, I don't know. I mean, I'm just speculating, but it seems like that he micromanages, is not willing to hand it over to another creative who might take it farther than he did. because streaming is perfect for this. You can do a slow burn and develop, do the origin story over 10 episodes, and from there you can branch off. You can do you can have a little arc with medieval Spawn or Gunslinger, or keep going with this character, or I think it would be awesome. I would say on the investment side of things, I don't think Spawn books need an option. I've kind of said that before. We're at really high numbers for a lot of Spawn books with, one kind of piss poor adaptation 20 plus years ago.
Well, and that HBO animated series, or if you want to call it animated. I mean, we call them animated series now, but I remember watching that as a kid and just being like, it doesn't hold up as much for me now, but I still like to go back and watch it. And like I said, that's not even being the biggest Spawn fan. I do want to take a time out for a moment and just say, Josh G, thank you so much. Hit us with double super chats here. And,
awesome.
And thank you so much, because that all that goes right back into the channel and helps supports the channel. So thank you so much for that. And other people that are coming into the chat, I think it's safe to say, just from the panel that we have here, there's not a single diehard Spawn fan on the panel, right? But people are aware of it.
Well, I'm a huge McFarlane fan. That's probably one of the reasons why I started collecting books back in the day. Being from, I'm a huge Venom fan, as everyone knows. McFarlane is why I started kind of getting into books. I loved the way he did artwork, and I used to try to mimic it when I was younger. And then the movie that came out, I loved the movie. My favorite part of that movie, though, was the soundtrack. It was one of the sickest soundtracks that come out. I still don't know another movie to this day that has a soundtrack that is that. And I like metal, so it was one of the heaviest soundtracks that come out in a long time. It had
Crow was a good one.
Yeah, Crow was a good one too.
That Spawn
Spawn one had Incubus, it had Korn, it had Daft Punk, I believe. I think it had Nine Inch Nails. It had a lot of really, really, really heavy hitters, and I jammed that thing so many times. I love that album.
It had one of the greatest songs ever, man. It had "Kick the PA," that Korn and Dust Brothers song, right? That was that song was freaking awesome, man.
That was with Jonathan from Korn, right?
Yeah. It was Dust Brothers and Korn.
It was
yeah.
Dust Brothers and Korn. Yeah.
It also had it had the greatest anchovies on pizza joke ever filmed. That made me laugh in theaters. I was like, that's a funny joke.
He's out loud. He's like, yeah. With so many of these covers. Go ahead.
Ryan, I was going to say, if you ever, you mentioned it. Not only did it have that Korn and Dust Brothers songs on it, but it had one of the greatest Incubus songs on it ever. That song, that familiar song, holy cow, man.
Yeah, that album.
I probably stepped too far when I said piss poor. I think the biggest failing of that movie was it came out for the special effects about 5 to 6, 7 years too early for what they could have pulled off with just the next generation of special effects.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it came out a little bit too early. If it would have been out now, they could have done so much more better. It would have looked all cooler. And I look forward to see how he looks in the future. With so many of these covers coming out, though, I wonder if they would do any type of NFTs on some of these covers. That would be kind of bring some of the speculation, some of the monetary things part of it.
Yo, I wonder if NFTs are like gonna actually last, like are they really gonna go the distance, or is it gonna be a part of this decade, like something?
I think you're gonna have outliers that do. I think it's I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still relatively ignorant to NFTs, and I'm not scared to say so, but I am too, but similar to .com in the 90s, where you can have some NFTs that are gonna stick around. I think it's going to be the smart people that are doing it. But NFTs, as Mugatu would say, man, they're so hot right now. But
is that, and then I think along with that other thing y'all were talking about with the comic book writer doing the stack or whatever it's called, that thing is going to be one of those things that might be here and then fly out and be gone tomorrow too. It seems really highly unregulated. But the NFT thing would be interesting with so many covers. That's what I think you could see some value if you were looking to do that. I just like Spawn. I think it's a cool character.
It's gonna be like rare Pogs.
Yeah, I mean, it's also it seems like the rightful transition, the way that Marvel and kind of like how they had the digital codes for reading. I mean, this takes it on a way another level, but you might have your variants, but then you might have your exclusive NFT. I mean, you could do.
That's how I read everything. Is with those digital codes.
One of 25.
I use my digital codes on all my books to do the readings.
Yeah. But I mean, did anyone pre-order Gunslinger Spawn? I pre-ordered that Capullo one that you brought up, just because of the.
How many different covers are there? Can it rival Venom covers? Because
Venom, really, I think good. Here, I'll share my screen
probably
here.
30 of them coming out already for number one. It's crazy, ridiculous.
I wouldn't say that many.
There's like 7 of them, I think.
Yeah.
So this is the Brett Booth, the connecting.
Wow.
Yeah, and then
7's like totally realistic. I'd be stoked if they did that for Venom covers.
This is the Kirkman cover. Robert Kirkman did a cover.
Damn, that hat is really tall.
This is Revolver. I don't know.
Gotta hold all his brains.
I think this is going to be a fun read. I really do.
This is John Romita Jr., and it's probably the best John Romita Jr. art you're going to see of him in 10 years.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Absolutely.
That's wild. That's a wild cover. That'd be sick if it glowed in the dark or something.
Yeah. I feel like if I saw that in the Old West, I would straight up think that was a clown coming into town.
Modern Gent put in the chat 1 in 250 variant. Is it worth it?
This is the 1 in 250. It looks beautiful.
I wouldn't pay ratio myself. I wouldn't pay ratio for it. Not with 385,000 copies out.
Well,
no, yeah.
Let's also think about the fact that this is one of the next big orders that's coming out that is not returnable.
It's going to be signed too, right?
All the 1 in 250s are.
Yeah, they're going to be signed just like the last one.
Where they can send it into CGC and get done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it says number of. So I think they said there's going to be 1571, which was the final, something like that, 1571. And then this is really cool. This is the Brett Booth one too that I think is really good.
So he did 2 covers?
Yeah, Brett Booth did 2 covers.
Those hats make me want to see a Hasidic Spawn.
They need to do like an action figure, but just of the hat.
Dude, I'll be honest, man. I like this. Like, if it wasn't expensive, I'd pick one up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Even sign, I mean, sign might kind of make it worth it at ratio, but if I could find it under ratio,
I really hope he signs it right
buy
here.
For about $100.
I hope to God he doesn't sign it up here anywhere.
What if he just signs the hat?
He can sign it sideways.
It's like that old Pharrell hat.
It is the Pharrell hat.
Is. Totally. Derek, hat pop.
These are beautiful covers, but I'm worried a little bit about people getting burned on this book, on King Spawn. There's a lot of new investors, a lot of new collectors in the hobby in the last couple of years, and this is a flashy, this is a flashy title. Those are flashy covers.
Tony, you're like the voice of God right now. I don't see you.
You can't see me?
You're under the overlay.
Oh.
No, I'm just saying I really want to read this too, and these are beautiful.
Arby's hat,
but with a print run like that, I mean, I can't see. I don't know. It'd be hard.
I will add this.
It's a long-term hold.
All that hard discussion right now goes out the freaking window if you're a diehard Spawn fan, and it's something that means that much to you. If it's worth it in your eyes, and you add it to your collection. No one can. Hate you.
I don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm the type. I I buy what I like. I don't care about what the cost or what the speculation is on things. If I like something, I'm gonna get it. I mean, I very rarely do I buy anything for like a spec value. I like it because I enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, that value's in the eye of the person that's spending the money on it, is the way I see it.
Yeah.
If it's something that you want to add to your collection, we can sit here and tell you, hey, I wouldn't buy it for that much, but at the end, it's your collection, and if you're fine with spending that amount of money on it, that's why it's your collection. So
you
I
can
didn't
use.
but I had that 300 on sitting here on my wall because I just dug the cover. It's so cool, you know. It's just like I wanted to support Todd, so it's cool.
Yeah, I just hope there's not people out there buying like 30 copies thinking they're going to get rich next year.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows? I mean,
they'll live and learn.
Spawn number one had a lot of copies.
Just hold it for 33 years. So that way, people that are 12 now, they'll be 45, and then they'll want to buy it through nostalgia. You know, you gotta wait on the just 33 years. Every comic, every.
Bury it in the
they'll be able to make their money back on it.
We're gonna, and at the last topic, we're gonna talk about print run of another popular comic. But before we get into that, Dan, we got some box office news too, right?
Yeah, so Disney has put out some lawsuits to invalidate a copyright termination notice that is been put out on behalf of Lawrence Lieber, Steve Ditko, the estates, Don Heck, and Don Rico, and Gene Colan, right? And
are you doing Shang-Chi or are you doing the other thing?
Yeah, I messed that up. Pull up the That's my fault. It's been a long week.
That's coming, right? That termination notice is coming. So Disney's preemptively like suing the estate, the lawyer, and the estates. And it's the Daniel Petrocelli is the lawyer, and he's also working on the Black Widow suit too.
There's some. I mean, I don't know the names, but if you read, I'll put the article in the chat too. But there's some big boy lawyers involved in these suits.
Yeah, the main thing is like they're trying to kind of define what work for hire really means, because at the time it's not as clear, and today like people write very clear contracts about that. Back then it's not necessarily so clear. So this lawyer already did this case before with Steve Ditko's estate for Hulk, Captain America, and X-Men, right? Because that was also that time frame happened, and they appealed it twice, and the Supreme Court was going to do the case, but then the estate settled out of court, okay? But the lawyer wanted to go to the Supreme Court so that, because in his mind, they really have to create a stronger definition of what work for hire is to really protect workers and artists and stuff like that. And this round involves Doctor Strange, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Captain Marvel, Falcon, Blade, and the Wizard.
Yeah. What didn't the lawyer represent? Wasn't it like involved in the Superman rights too? I forget.
The Disney lawyer was involved with the Superman rights and helped them retain the Superman rights from the
Schuster
Siegel estates. Yeah. It's weird. It's like some people are connecting this to the I don't know, other stories like involving like Disney and copyright, but it's not the same. It's not the same case. I've seen other media outlets kind of comparing that, but it's not the same thing at all. Wow. This is about work for hire contracts, and
they'll compare anything if it gets a click.
Yeah, I guess so.
From all this from the pandemic, so you know, everyone said that from that there was gonna be a lot of good things, and a lot of bad things that would come out of it on the other end, and I think that that pandemic has put everyone in a newer predicament, and they're trying to figure out, okay, we got thrown into something, and on the other side, some folks are not liking what the other side is reaping, and they're like, well, we would have, hindsight being 2020, we could have changed this back before, we would have, but no one never been in that circumstance, so they didn't know how to react. And I think now, I don't know if this is exactly where the case is going, but it seems like there's a lot of reactionary stuff. People are like, okay, we need to take a better look at this, because if I'm not mistaken, like on the checks, there was something that was on their checks that said, hey, we're paying you for the rights, and we're basically paying you to make this for us, and that's why it's ours, and we can do what we want to going forward. But I don't know how legal that is nowadays.
Well, I think that what they're trying to determine with the law is like whether like work for hire should really mean that you're paid like you're a hired employee, you know, like so you're under contract with the company all the time, and then the work you put output for the company, that's the work for hire stuff. I mean, they're trying to make it more like that instead of just, you know, the stuff you work at home. And so like, did they provide the office and the tools for you to create the stuff in their play? Like they're trying to make it more. They really have to be paying you like a full salary to be owning your shit.
I'm sure the language in those contracts is much better today and more defined than the language that was in these contracts that when these characters were created, and that's the case that they're trying to build, right?
Yeah, and I don't see this having a lot of ramifications for contracts at this moment, really. This seems to be like about older properties, this whole case, and it also seems to be involve like estates wanting more money. So I don't know how much the public is gonna. I don't know how much they're gonna care necessarily. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting.
I don't know if the public will care because I think a lot of it kind of goes. I hear something, I'm always like, oh, okay, if that's going on, but it is like people were saying, okay, like after Lee passed, how did his heirs? How are they going to continue? Is there continuation to pay for what he did? Or, and that's a big name, but there's all these other creators that did all these things, and they're going to have their story continues on, even though they're not. So how are they being?
Well, his brother's one of the plaintiffs, right? Filing some of this.
Lawrence Lieber.
I can see it from that standpoint because like when they put a lot of it's not just okay. Well, they passed it, and so now it's ours.
Yeah, I mean, and not that admittedly, I'm a big Disney fan, but as you see more of these cases in the Black Widow and now this type case, it's almost like each one of these cases is kind of building momentum to where eventually they're trying, or I won't say trying, but you're going to get that perception of Disney as this big bad monopoly and doesn't look out for the little guys. And then, more and more cases are going to come up to where do you think the public perception might change? I know some people already feel that way with like Disney monopolizes everything. I mean, they got Marvel, they got Star Wars, they got all this stuff. But as these cases keep coming up, I wonder if that perception might begin to build of Disney's the big bad corporation and the family. They're not looking out for the families of these creators.
It's the same. It's very similar to like the artists, like music artists and stuff like that. Like, like they create the music.
That's
and
why
they go
you gotta be like Wu-Tang.
I think they're gonna ask Bob Chapek to resign, and he's gonna be the fall guy, and then Disney's gonna act like they've reformed, and then they go back to the same old bullshit again, and then they peg it on the CEO. I think that's what's gonna happen. I'm calling it. Watch.
Yeah, Chapek has had a rough go, man.
They're gonna put it all on him when he resigns, because they give him $20 million to resign.
Parachute. What do they call that? Parachute pension.
Golden parachute.
They're gonna hire a minority to be a CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really think there's any company of that size that isn't in the middle of 6 lawsuits. Whatever it is, construction, whatever. It's just when it has to do with entertainment and especially comic books, we just pay attention to the littlest shit. Like it's like a company getting sued for trademark and they settle and with another company or it's
artists too. Artists are
exactly right.
We got another YouTuber in the chat with the comic vet. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, Tony.
Yeah. No, you're all good.
I just get so excited.
I was reading about the previous one that happened with Superman, and how that kind of settled out. And it wasn't about, from what I understand, and maybe I'm misunderstanding something, but from what I understand, it wasn't necessarily about the trademark or the ownership of those characters. It was even the smaller stuff like story elements in certain comic books that those characters appeared in. So if you wanted to use this storyline where this thing happens in a movie or streaming, that could be because it wasn't specifically laid out in that contract. You know, Superman's was laid out, but the other little story elements weren't. So, and like you said, it's a way for those estates to kind of get a bigger piece of the pie. You know, whether you think that's fair or not, the original creator probably, you know, didn't never in their lifetime saw the true value of what they created. So, you know,
well, it's like they're asking them to do these so they can do. You know, I heard that I guess Shooter was recently approached and they asked him, "Hey, can we use some of the stuff from Secret War? Is it okay?" And then he's like, "Well, what?" And then it's like, "Well, we can't say, but if we wanted to, can we do something with it to kind of get through his blessing to do it?" Because they didn't want him to come back and be like, "Oh no, you didn't ask me. I wrote that." So I think it's kind of along that same lines.
Yeah.
Well, at least they're given. At least they give credit in the actual movie credits for some of the creators. Warner Brothers and Patty Jenkins don't do that. It's like, oh, after the fact. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had him in there, and they give him. Wasn't there also something where they like give him like $5,000? Like, hey, thanks for letting us use your character.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think that was the Shooter thing, wasn't it? Wasn't it like 10 grand or something?
Yeah, it was like, go buy some scratch offs.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Like, you shouldn't hear stories like where Neil Adams is. I forget which one he was talking. I think it was Schuster, right? Or Siegel, one of them. He's like, yeah, I literally had to go grab the guy and pay for his ticket to go see Superman when it came in the movie theaters. And I went to go grab him. He was sleeping in a single room cot with a cot, you know what I mean? And just some old dude that has nothing. And he helped create Superman. And he literally has to buy him a ticket because he can't afford a ticket to go see the character that he created. That type of shit shouldn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's a fair way to do it then? How should it work? I mean,
how much money do you think
ownership?
How much money do you think Superman brings in a year, like just on the Superman on Superman alone? You know what I mean? Like, how much you think? I mean, like, let's say, I mean, what's a reasonable amount you think that would be around that? Like, let's say it's $1 billion. All right, which is probably way more than that, obviously. Let's say it's $1 billion. You give the family of the owners, you know, 15-20% of that a year. I don't know, something like that.
See,
that's a lot.
I'm a financial planner, and I think that's what they would take care of these creators and for the long term say, hey, there's going to be a retirement or a pension that's going to be set up for you that can be transferred down to the family. And that way they can make the money, but they're going to be taken care of when they do retire. They're not in that situation right there. It's like, a lot of times when you're young and whatnot, I think the same thing for musical artists. I always wanted to try to help them out. Like, hey, let's focus on this. You can do all the artwork. Let's focus for 10 minutes, do this and get this set up so that when you're done doing what you're doing, you can relax and enjoy the fruits of your labor at that point.
I went to a con and George Perez was there one year, and I was talking to him, and he had just gotten like eye surgery and stuff, so he still had the shit on his eyes, and he was so excited about it because he's and I'm like, why are you so excited about all that? He's like, dude, I got so much stuff I'm able to get done now, this and that. And I'm like, why are you he's like I'm finally getting money on stuff I did that I created for DC back then, because now all these characters, like these Titans characters, are starting to be on WB with Arrow and right. And he's like, I've made more money on the rights of my Teen Titans characters for movies and TV this year than I've made on them in all of time through comics. I was like, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of money these guys make or could make, if they were smart, or, if at some reason they got a nice percentage of, the ownership of the character.
I think that's the way to do it, is give the creators executive producer credit on what a TV show or a movie or a cartoon. And so they get, however many, it doesn't even have to be a lot, probably back end points, half a point. whatever, something for that original writer, that original artist.
And that's partly because there's a guild. There's like a producers guild. Like the guilds have a lot of power to get back end deals that are in perpetuity or whatever of the property being shown or whatever. But there's no comic creator guild, and they don't have like power at all. So
there's a lollipop
back
guild,
end
and
way.
a comic creator guild.
You know, George Romero of Walking Night of the Living Dead, he couldn't hold the copyright at all. They made a mistake, and they estimate he lost out on like $2 billion because he created the zombie. I mean the zombie we know today. Because they messed up. They really messed up with the titling and stuff.
Alberto Jefe, what do you think of all this?
Yeah, I'm glad you guys have plenty to say about this topic because honestly, this side of the business is what makes me. It's emotionally exhausting and draining, and it's hard to hear about stories like this. And then the quickest way for me to become disinterested in a property or a title or a movie is to tell me that there is a lawsuit going on because I really don't want to get dragged through the mud of learning about this and learning about that. And I get it. I could probably stand to learn a lot from this, but the more drama that a title or an industry carries with it, the more I want to separate myself from it. It's just emotionally drama is emotionally draining for me as a person, as a human being. So for Disney suing to keep complete rights and for this whole situation, not just Disney, take the Disney name off, but this whole situation becomes emotionally draining for me, and I just kind of want to distance myself.
That's actually an incredible perspective because that's more likely to be most people's perspectives, than what we're saying because we're like, talking from different. So
we're trying to dissect it like
yeah, because probably the general public doesn't want to get involved. Yeah, because they don't want to get like canceled online by their friends or like, oh, you didn't know they broke all these human rights violations, like that actor is like a whatever. So you don't want to get involved, and that's like that's an interesting perspective that I think a lot of people probably have.
And I love the comment Milky Way just put in there, like less reboots. I'm so sick of reboots. But sticking with Disney, and surprise, we kind of spoiled it previously because I messed up. But Andy, we had pandemic box office record with a movie that a lot of people, before it came out, thought it wasn't going to do well.
Shang-Chi.
Maybe I'm muted again.
You might be muted, and
the highest grossing pick at pandemic domestic box office right now. Wow, this is actually pretty interesting. I've heard really good things. I breezed through the article in a couple of minutes, but what were they talking about? I think it's 12.8 million for its fourth #1 weekend.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And it's crazy because we were talking about it on the show. We've talked about this movie a couple times. And I know one time Dan brought up about that exclusive, was it 40? There's an exclusive window for theater only release. What was it, like 40 days, 44 days?
Yeah, 45.
Yep. And I think that kind of was one of the effects out of the Black Widow release where it was like, hey, let's do this. And they're seeing that it kind of paid off.
Well, it's Mastodon's right. The reboots and remakes in general, I'm tired of, and I think that's kind of why where Shang-Chi is seeing a bit of a bump. People are excited, people are interested, people want to get out, and this post-pandemic or whatever pandemic situation that they're talking about as far as the box office goes, I feel like the world is moving, things are changing for the better, in my opinion, and I think people are just getting really excited about being back in the movie theater safely.
Yeah, I mean, we get all types of variants that aren't comic related that's in the news right now. Well, one variant, but normally I'm quick to see these. I've just been working so much. I still haven't been able to see this movie. My kid's been asking about it. My kid has been looking forward on what they call the downloader at home.
The downloader.
But and
I haven't seen it either. To be honest.
I would say at this point, we're past the 2-week moratorium, so I mean, if you guys want to discuss spoilers, that's my own fault, and I'll let people in the chat know there might be spoilers in here. But
I had a newborn,
I've
so
seen
that
it
kind of
twice.
gives me a pass.
Yeah.
2 times.
Yeah, so Tony saw it twice. Dan, you saw it too, right, or no?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I saw it in theaters the day it opened.
Timothy, I have my ticket for Venom 2.
Venom 2.
I'm the lone guy out then. I have not seen it. Just hadn't made time for it, but I'll totally forget what you guys talk about in like 12 hours. So,
Well, the thing is, like Hollywood, they always like project what they want to do based on the past and past models. So, and it's always been like an idea that minorities can't lead the box office or whatever. So, I mean, it's not an anomaly anymore. It's like pretty consistent that minorities can lead the box office, and the audience is made up of all kinds of people. It's not just like Asian people that are watching it. So it shows that everyone's also maybe less racist than everyone thought too, right? Like it's like a bunch of little takeaways. Because I looked at the demographics, and I'm like, oh, okay, so just everyone's just watching this shit.
Connecting to the network.
Uh-oh, are you tubing? Are we having a tubing moment?
No, sorry about that.
That's all right. We're not CNN. We'll keep you. We'll let you. We'll be cool.
Yeah, no, I will. I'll pipe in, man. I was really looking forward to this movie. I was really disappointed that the release happened during COVID. You know, it kind of put a black mark on all of these releases now, even the ones coming up yet. Eternals, you know, they really could have been billion-dollar movies. We don't know, but just the way it panned out, it didn't turn out that way. But no, man, I'm an MCU fan. I love seeing these characters that we've these big A-list characters. Like, I can't wait to see the X-Men. But the strength of the MCU is their ability to take characters that haven't been front and center, that nobody knew or nobody cared about. The Guardians of the Galaxy. Iron Man was not an A-list character before they made the first movie. I mean, he's been around for a long time, but there's a reason why nobody had bought the option to Iron Man. You know, they had sold off all the options that were worth money. His wasn't. So, Shang-Chi, very heavily printed book in the 70s when Bruce Lee and Kung Fu was all the rage. But I'm happy to see it. I'm happy that it did well critically and box office wise. You know, this is kind of the first glimpse we get to see into the next generation of MCU movies, you know, a future Avenger, I'm sure we'll get a sequel. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. And I think a lot of, people who don't know anything about the MCU, it was a good entry-level movie for them too. You didn't have to keep track. You don't have to explain to your mom what happened when you watch Infinity War, or like you did when you watched Infinity War. Who is that character? So yeah, I'm glad it did well.
And it's funny you mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't want to stray too far off this topic because I want to stay on it, but that brought to mind. Did you guys see the Marvel's canceling Guardians of the Galaxy comic series?
Wow,
who's writing that right now? It's Al Ewing, right?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah. But Shang-Chi, I will get to see it eventually. And it's great to see the domestic box office success, because I think that was one that, the lead actor and stuff kind of got in trouble. Well, I won't say in trouble, but is banned from the Asian market box office, right? Which a lot of people say, oh, that's a death sentence when it comes to movie cinema. So people are liking it. People are seeing it. I don't think I've heard a bad review about it yet. If you guys seen it in the chat, let us know your thoughts as well. But and there seems to be a lot of excitement kind of following up with what you just said, where there's continuity with, now you kind of have a better idea of the MCU, where it's going. Because to be honest, since Endgame, you get ideas, but you kind of don't have a direction of the MCU's kind of treading water, right? You're introducing characters and stuff, and it's like, okay, where are we going? And I'm excited for Doctor Strange. I never would have thought 10 years ago, even after the first movie came out, would sit here and tell you I'm excited for a Doctor Strange movie. But with Sam Raimi attached, and I love Benedict Cumberbatch.
Cumberland.
But great actor.
Slumberbatch.
Sherlock Holmes series is awesome with him and Hobbit.
I think Cumberbatch is badass because he does all the voiceovers for like books and stuff.
Yeah, he's almost like
Auto.
him and Andy Serkis should just do a bunch of movies together.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that What If that's coming out tonight.
You know, like I feel like Iron Man was the heart of the MCU basically, and he's spoilers. He died, right? So he's dead, and I guess who's the new heart? And so I think like the thing about the heart of the MCU, it's gotta be someone super flawed, and no one's flawed. I feel like a lot of this new roster, they're all perfect people with issues, but they're still essentially perfect. Whereas like Tony Stark was deeply flawed.
That's my
Spider-Man is sort of like they're trying to put him in that place, but he's just a fuck up. Every Spider-Man movie of this new Spider-Man, he's the one that fucks everything up, and then he has to solve it. So I'm like, wait a minute. So if he didn't exist, the world would just be a better place. And I'm realizing this new iteration, he's just a fuck up, and I guess he's the new heart of just like fucking up, and I don't know. But who's the flawed character? That's what I want. I want that.
He's like Keanu Reeves in the 80s and 90s movies, where it seemed like all the best movies Keanu was in at the time was when he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. It's like he had to remind himself he's an FBI agent. and
that's my biggest issue with the Venoms coming out is that Eddie Brock is a redemption story. There's no redemption story in the movie. He's just this guy that had the wrong thing he did was look at an email that he should have looked at, and it's like in the comic books he had a lot of problems, but then he was able to come back from that and to see his kid, and that's one of the biggest things of this current thing with Venom going on that I don't like.
Well, we've only got a couple more weeks before that hits Disney Plus. Shang-Chi.
November.
Okay, so 4 or 5, 6 weeks.
I think Black Widow hits like October 12th, and I think Shang-Chi hits November. I mean, besides
I would go see it in the theater if you can, though. Yeah. Go see it while it's there.
I heard it's awesome. The cinematography I heard is legit.
Yeah.
Babysitters for Saturday.
Yeah. So we opened with a print run topic. We're going to kind of close it out this week with a print run topic. We talked about Gunslinger Spawn, but no doubt everyone has been talking about Boom Studios and House of Slaughter. And this article here talks about, was it 500,000 print run for House of Slaughter #1, but also today on Instagram, Ross Ritchie from Boom Studios said 460,000, which it's still not Berserker. I think Berserker was 615,000 for issue #1, but huge print run. A lot of people like it. I mean, a lot of people are upset. I think it's great for comics. It does hurt that scarcity, but to be honest, it's not like it caught people off guard. And I'm
falling asleep over here, man.
We had the free comic book day. It's been solicited a bunch of times, and you knew. I mean, when Boom puts out a 1 in 1,000, or any book puts out a 1 in 1,000, you kind of have to think, okay, that's going to increase the print run some. But there's been other news, other rumors, so it's great to have this discussion. I know people in the chat who here pre-ordered House of Slaughter. That Dell auto cover is awesome. There's some other great covers for this as well, but House of Slaughter, McClay, are you on board for this?
Have you seen all the covers for this? Have you guys seen how many covers there are for this? Let me show you.
Well,
I shared my screen.
Not too many covers.
Look at all these
There's
covers.
Just a lot of different treatment of covers as well.
God,
these are all just the regular covers.
I hate it. I hate all the covers.
These are just the regular cover. I mean,
those are
there's
store
exclusives in
exclusives.
there, too.
some of these are store exclusives, but these right here are all regular.
So the Jenny
There's
Frison foil.
There's like 9 exclusives, and then all these store exclusives, right? But here's my question: out of all of these, okay, so here's my first thing, right? I get it. It's a cool storyline, James Tynion, all that stuff. It's a not the main storyline, right? It's a little side hustle here. Look at all these covers. Look at them all. How many of them you think are good? You know how many of them I think are good? A very small few. This is probably the best one out of them all, in my opinion. This one right here. And this is the type of stuff that is worrying me, being coming from where I kind of come from. I love Robert Hackey's badass. That's sweet. But the thing that worries me is the fact that we were talking also about there's 500,000 or 460,000 on the print runs on the regular. There's 100,000, close to like 80 to 100,000 exclusives coming down too. That's a lot of books to be throwing out there. Do you think that this book's going to sell out?
No.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And listen, I know everybody gets so worried when they start hearing a speculator start talking about the bubble popping and this and that. But man, there's a lot of books being printed. Will they all be sold? No, I don't think so.
No.
That's my biggest problem.
No, but I'm also excited to see the comic business thrive with those print runs. I mean, I think it's great to see comics sell that way. Now, yes, with all the exclusives, I can understand. I definitely understand all the arguments.
So, like, I get it. I hear the fuck or the screw the speculators thing, right? But listen, those exclusives, that exclusive game right now is built upon the speculation game.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. It is. It really is. And there's a lot of people getting in that exclusive game. And at some point, that exclusive game is not going to be as plentiful anymore because there's going to be so much watered down stuff. How many, we're going to start seeing so many of the same cover over and over and over. And when you, for just one title, one issue, you're going to have 100,000 exclusives. Yeah. Can't wait to get them in the Walmart packs because they're going to be there. Just that's the crazy thing to me. I get it. The speculation hate and read the book, but man, a lot of that exclusive game is built on speculation and people.
Well, a lot of the comic collectible hobby in general, you could say, is built. Whatever your purpose is, whether you're speculating or you're just reading, I don't see the reason to, hate one or the other. If you are one or the other, if you're speculating, great. If you're not and you're reading it, great. You can sit there and tell me you're stupid to pay that much for it. But like I said at the beginning of the show, if it's something that I like and it's something that I'm a diehard fan about and I'm going to spend the money because I want it in my collection, you can knock me if you want, but I guarantee the fuck you're doing the same thing on some other title with some other character with some other shit that I would look at you and say, you just spent $150 on some Rick and Morty sauce, you jackass, So it's, like we always say, it's your collection. Buy what you like. Spend it. No one can tell you how to spend your own money. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah. But let's not forget the other side of that coin. Speculation can be used on both lanes of the highway. Like for me, I use it wholeheartedly to build my PC as affordably as possible. Right. Like I'm digging out these numbers. I'm following a lot of this stuff so that I know that if I'm paying for a book, I'm not overpaying or if I'm underpaying, that I'm educated. This is educating me as a buyer for my PC. And I'm worried. I'm actually really worried because I have everything for House of Slaughter ordered through my LCS. Not the store exclusive stuff, but just the other exclusives. I have all of those ordered because I want them for my PC. I think it's going to be a very fun read because I'm a massive Something Is Killing the Children fan. But my problem is that these exclusives are going to be priced based on online sales. And this is one of the first major numbers out there as far as numbers ordered that's not returnable for an indie book. Not returnable. Yeah. So like Berserker #1 was returnable. There may have been 620,000 copies ordered, but the book was returnable. This is not. Yeah. And you're at almost 500,000. It's not returnable. So prices, I think, are going to tank months after this book's out.
I'm not chasing any of the incentives. I do love that Del Auto.
The Frizen's good,
but I will pick up the cover A. I am excited to read the story. I'm more excited for that freaking deluxe slipcase. Something is killing the children.
Agreed.
That just hit final order cutoff. That I'm super excited for. I think House of Slaughter is great. I'm excited to see. I'm happy for Boom Studios for the success that they've had over the past couple of years with some of these titles, but I do understand the other side of the argument where it's like, holy crap, when's this going to end? But we've also talked about on this channel, when Jack was on this channel, we talked about some of those titles, and it seems like each one was hitting after another, and it was kind of growing that momentum. It still hasn't topped Berserker, but it's kind of hard when you got like Keanu Reeves behind it. He just did another interview on the Today Show today, as a matter of fact, and you got a live action and an anime coming behind Berserker for Netflix, I believe. But I mean, people in the chat are talking about it. Let us know your thoughts. Is there a cover that you like? I know there's a lot of store exclusives out there. I haven't seen all of them. I know friends of the channel, D616 Comics, has their store exclusive out there as well. And I've heard rumors of print runs. I don't know what those rumors of the print runs are, but one thing I will tell you is John at D616 Comics, he's always honest about the print runs that are out there. So if whatever he puts on there, that's how many he has. I've heard that there's some number fudging with the print run for exclusives. I can't speak to that.
I'm with Andy on the speculation thing. Like, I don't speculate to make money on it. Like, I'll use it to try to fund so I can get the books I need, because it's a way to try to fund that. But I also find a great joy out of getting books that I had the ability to be able to get there when the shop opens in the morning. Me and my buddy Anthony go there early, and we wait and we sometimes can't make it. We'll trade spot times to be so that I can get those books that are highly sought after, but I can bring them to those that are not able to do that, and they're able to get those books. And I typically won't I'll say, well, just give me what you think is fair, and then as long as I can make my money back and you give me whatever, tip me on the top of it. I like to be able to get that to, and I'm very big on I don't mind hooking people up who are not going to turn around and sell it. If they're getting it for their collection, or they get it because they want it, I'll do that pretty regularly. But
and that's what makes the hobby great.
So there is a different side of the speculation knowledge that, like Andy was saying.
In the 90s boom and bust, there was also tons of outsiders buying comics, because it hit the news.
The news, like the death of Superman, man. I remember those being all over the news, and the moms were
funny
out there. My kids
but
college.
But this book is all insiders buying it. There's not really there's no outside public community that's buying this. Not really, right? It's mostly the core collectors that have been kind of sustaining the whole industry in the whole, in the first place. So I wonder if it is, so I wonder if that plays a part of whether this is a bubble or not. Because, I mean, how many active buyers are there? Actually, 100,000 people, 150,000 people, and so then they bought 4 copies, I guess. But it's not the outsiders, so I don't see the, because when the outsiders realized this was crap and they all started dumping, everyone's dumping. That led to a big crash, but it's all insiders, so I don't know. I just wonder if that makes a difference in this.
Does the print run affect you picking up a copy?
Yes.
Right. Fair enough.
Not me if I'm reading it.
Yeah.
No,
it doesn't. I'm with Ryan. It doesn't affect me picking up a copy. It just affects it affects when I'm gonna buy it. You know what I mean?
And
Fred
Bruno,
that is true.
Fred Bruno in the chat brought up a great point, because he talked about Bronze Age comics, and we all know those Bronze Age comics had some pretty hefty print runs.
Right.
No, I'm not saying.
Yeah, okay.
You can say apples and oranges, but at the same time, it was also great to. I mean, that's when you just picked up comics, and not that I was born in the Bronze Age, I guess you could say, but I grew up in the Copper Age. So, but yeah, I mean,
I get it. I'm a completionist, so I get
but
everything.
I'm
You
worried
know.
about. Yeah.
I also like not like I don't pre-order like I used to. I was pre-ordering all these exclusives, store exclusives like that. I stopped doing that. I don't do that. I'll let the book come now, get it 6-7 months down the road, pay a third of the price that what then pre-order costs, and I just that's how I do it now. I'm not pre-ordering anything. So I'm no hurry to get it because I got it. But I'm a completionist, so it's in my want list until I get it.
I think that's kind of key. What you just said though is you're a completionist. Everyone is a different kind of collector. Some people they don't sell anything. Some people just, there's 2 titles that they get. Everybody has their own take on it. For myself, the reason that I'm not going to go out and buy a bunch of copies of this or try to collect all the different covers. I love Tinian. Like you said, Brian, I think the fact that this is so successful is great for the industry. It's great for Boom. It's great for indie publishers. They're making a lot of money. They can fund more of these. They can have more passion projects for independent creators. The entry level of getting an indie property on screen is much lower now, which is awesome. That's good for us. That's good for viewers. But at the end of the day, I want to read it, but I don't want to spend $700 just so I can have a short box of all those covers if all I want is to read it. Unless I really think that $700 short box, maybe 3 years from now is going to be $2,200 or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I spend enough money on comics in all different aspects, from the movies, from the graphic novels, from my own personal collection. So that's why I'm not trying to diss it by saying I'm not going to buy a copy just because it's got a big print run. But like you said, Rhino, like if I see it in a short box, if I see it in an LCS 8 months from now for $2, hell yeah, I'll grab some.
Or like Milky Way said, the Walmart packs.
Yeah.
Such are the woes of the modern completionist collector like myself. Like I'm a completionist on series and runs that I'm in love with, and as a modern collector, I'm not going to wait 10 years to work on a collection of modern books, right? So that's why this print run concerns me a little bit. Is when am I going to buy this book? Do I wait? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Timing is going to be everything for the modern completionist collector like myself.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: does the print run surprise you? What did you think the print run might be? Because I mean, there's no way that it caught that high number. Might be somewhat surprising, but this didn't fly under the radar by any means. So I mean, you had to estimate that there was going to be a fairly large print run, right?
I didn't think we'd be approaching 500,000 copies, though. I thought maybe pushing 300,000.
And also,
I mean, I understand Berserker pushing what it did because you have Keanu Reeves attached to it. You know that he wants to try to make that into a property. I totally understand that. Something is Killing the Children really took off. It's one of the biggest comics in the game right now. This and that, but for a little side hustle off of that, a side story, like for a side story for something is Killing the Children to have 500,000. That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I want to see Orko get a standalone series.
Yeah, there you go. I think we can get 600 out of that one.
I think there's a lot of FOMO going on.
Yeah,
because they missed missed the first. This is a giant FOMO issue.
Totally.
Yeah, definitely. And
totally.
You also bring up a great point with 600. Was it 615,000 for Berserker with a huge blockbuster name behind it? It speaks well to Boom with what they've done from storytelling, and James Tynion, of course, for the story building that they've done from a one-off or something is killing the children that we were blamed for killing that, talking about for Final Order Cutoff and 3 years ago or whatever it was, and it built that momentum, and the people love that story so much that to see this, like you said, a one-off.
You know what I will say? I think it is the prerogative of Boom to look at the flipping community also. I think it's the prerogative of, I think that, yeah, it is their prerogative to look at it, but I think that they should look at it, right? I think that if these publishers aren't looking at each part of their community, comicdom's held up on like multiple tent poles, right? You got the people that just read and don't care if their book has a cover or a back cover. They just want to read it, right? There's something to check out on the shitter or something maybe. Then you have the people that like have been collecting Amazing Spider-Man run for 20 years and probably don't even read anymore, but they want their mint copy Spider-Man run to put in their collection. Then you got the people that like do both. Then you got the people that are in it just to make a side hustle, and they love certain comics, right? You've got these different tent poles. If the publishers aren't looking at each one of those collectors, then there's a problem.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
But then you also, I can't say this yet because we don't know how many printings of House of Slaughter 1 will come out, but you had the opposite of that where they had smaller print runs, so then the demand was still there, so they created additional printings. And then you got people pissed off at the publisher for creating additional printings.
Yeah, it's silly.
But
yeah,
with that being said, tomorrow is New Comic Book Day, so we're going to go around, and to me, it's a slow week for me. But what are you guys picking up for New Comic Book Day? Brian, share your screen.
All right. The first one, there you go. I got the, I love this cover here. Stan Sakai doing like a little homage.
Rocksteady and Bebop?
Yeah, you got it. So, and I don't know. I love how he's got the wooden nose on. I love that. It's just a beautiful cover. Sometimes I wish they wouldn't have the trade dress on. Trade dress would be a little bit like this wouldn't be there. Just the Usagi Yojimbo would be there, but that's okay. I really like this, and I also love Vader's Castle to begin with. But you throw in a Jackson story, like this is one of the craziest characters in all of Star Wars. I actually just sold a first appearance of Jackson on Whatnot like the other night for like $40 something. I couldn't believe it went for that much, And I mean, I love the character. That character was always so funny to me as a kid, and like one of the only characters in the comics that like was purely from comics back then. Character they just kind of goof on before Jar Jar. The Vader's Castle. The Vader's Castle stuff is really good. That's a really cool Francavilla cover too. So those are the two books I'm looking at this week.
Brian, wouldn't you love to see Taika Waititi have Jackson in his Star Wars movie? That'd be awesome, man.
Yes. Yeah. I think that'd be a great idea. Pull it off. He could probably pull it off.
Yeah.
Alberto Jefe.
Ooh, well, I'm going to get into this screen sharing game along with Brian here because I'm thinking I'm really kind of falling in love with the 1 in 25 Something That's Killing the Children. And I'm really excited to see this last little snippet from Something That's Killing the Children before they take a several month break. Was it 3, 4, 5 months? There's a number of months in between this issue and the next issue while they roll out House of Slaughter. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this little story arc comes to an end on that one, because this is going to be the book that I'm reading in my truck in the parking lot at my LCS before I even get home this week.
Yeah, that's a great cover. Dank. Hit us with some knowledge.
Yeah, also, like, I thought, it's not a big week, so I'm looking forward to Superman 78 issue 2 because I want to see if they can maintain the joy of that book, because I found it to be so joyful and really got right into the rhythm of the old film, because I think like Batman 89 does not feel like Batman 89. Actually, it feels like a totally different world and story.
And I was excited for Batman 89.
Right. But it doesn't feel like Batman 89 because it's like too grounded, whereas Batman 89 is like kind of silly and ridiculous. And Superman 78, it maintains that snappy, journalistic, like silly, practical, jokey kind of tone. So I was like, wow, this was much stronger than I anticipated. And then Darling issue 4, because it's about a junkie who died and his life, but it's turning into its weird fantastical elements, and that's not how it was marketed. It was marketed as just like adventures of this guy in New York in the 80s, but fantastical things are happening, and that's cool, but I hope it makes sense, because I'm like, all right, I'm getting to the edge of like, this is not making sense anymore, and I'm gonna have to drop it. But just like, I want it. Come on, just give it to me. Give me some solid storytelling.
What about you, Ryan? Anything you got? I know you're mostly a Venom collector.
Yeah, but absolute. Well, Extreme Carnage comes out tomorrow, so I'm gonna get into the screen sharing game, and that's the one I'm going after, because it is Venom.
That's about as good as I am with screen sharing on this thing. So.
Also, I like this one. Here's the new symbiote, Silence. I thought that was a pretty cool one. So I'm gonna be checking that out. One other cover is kind of weird. Is that Scotty Young? I'm not a big fan of Scotty Young, but this is just the goofiest cover ever, and I thought that was pretty hilarious. So those are covers I'm going after. I'm also gonna looking forward to seeing crossover starting back up again. It's been out for a little bit, and it's starting back up after that last run, after that last issue with what's the name? Who wrote it with that last one? It was pretty good.
Kate.
Or
is it
Kate wasn't the yeah. So I want to see how this new little arc's going and whatnot. So that starts up tomorrow. So those are the ones.
Tony. Feels good.
Yeah, I kind of on the same tip as we just talked about it. If I'm buying new comics, a lot of times I am looking at the investment side of things. I'll read, but again, I read. I'm in the habit now of reading and trade. So if there's an arc that I'm hearing great things about, I'll wait and I'll pick it up in the graphic novel. If I'm making some purchases on Wednesday, it is kind of an investment side of things. There is a new series called Human Remains from Vault Comics. I know you're a fan of Vault, Brian.
Yep.
They had a heyday and they kind of disappeared for a little bit, and they seem to be coming back.
Yeah, they're putting some higher ratio variants out with their titles now too, I've noticed.
Right, yeah. Peter Milligan, I think, is the writer. Not a huge name, but he's had some critically acclaimed stuff. Indie horror seems to be the cup of tea lately from a lot of different publishers. And there are some higher ratio. There's a 1 in 25 and 1 in 50. So for a book that nobody's really talking about, a 1 in 50, that might be a good one to jump on.
Yeah, and a lot of those times with those indie books, if you're in geographic areas where maybe your LCS doesn't carry them, make sure you guys check out the publisher website too, because a lot of times they'll sell books on there. Unless it's Archie. Don't order from Archie's site unless you're not worried about fine or below condition, because they ship horribly. So there's one book that I've seen a lot of people talking about, and I think it's a lot of great store exclusives, is that Gun Honey's coming out tomorrow, right? The Titan Comics Gun Honey.
Didn't it get pushed back again?
Oh, did it?
It might have got pushed back again.
For
some reason, I thought I heard that.
But
it was optioned.
But my pick is, like I said, Son of Kal-El. I've been enjoying that, huge Tom Taylor fan. But my pick is, I don't really have a huge pick, but I'm supporting one of my favorite and one of the nicest writers in comics. If you guys have read Kanto, David Boer, he's got a Boom Studios book. If you're a Firefly fan, Serenity fan, he's got that one shot for Firefly River Run #1 coming out tomorrow. So I'm picking that up just to support David Boer, nicest guy in comics, and he's been writing Kanto. He's been writing, and of course, the brain farting, the Dark Horse book,
Killer Queens.
Has been fantastic as well. So that's my pick, and that just leaves us now with one more thing. One more thing, we're going to go around. Each panelist is going to let us know one more thing before we get out of here, whether it's on your channel, whether it's what you're eating for breakfast, who knows. But one more thing, McClay, what do you got for us?
So my one more thing is kind of interesting. It's more, I guess, a question for Dan. I know he dabbles in the movie and TV industry and stuff, and so I've been asked by a good friend of mine to figure out a comic book that he can use when filming, a project that he's got that he won't get, hit up, if that project comes out and they go, you can't use that in filming. So my question is, if anybody out there that's listening to this or anybody on the panel that knows, is there a comic book that you can use in a film project, or you're trying to make a show, a pilot for something, and you want to have somebody reading comic books? What are the comic books that you can use in that situation? Does anybody know? Dan, do you know?
Not exactly. I mean, I guess you can make a fan film if you're not getting any commercial, if you're not making any money off of the project itself, you can probably do almost any property, as long as you're not actively getting funds for it. Because there was a Star Trek Axanar film, which was a fan film, but they started making so much money off the Kickstarter that CBS actually shut it down because they were like, you're making now too much money. But you see those Batman fan films all day, right? Because the idea is they're not making any money, and it has to be totally free, and that's the trick. Or go to public domain. I'm gonna rewrite Great Gatsby as is like a.
So that's what I've been doing. Yeah, I've been looking that up, and I know that after so many years, public domain makes it so a copyright can only, like, 56 years or something like that.
But it used to be 75. It used to be 75, and then Disney got lobbyists in Washington to change the law and make it 95 years. Yeah. So there was a 20-year gap where nothing entered public domain. Yeah. But now Steamboat Willie, I think now he's in public domain. So I can write some crazy ass adventure story with like a fucked up Steamboat Willie, trying to get, and Disney can try, and we'll see what happens. But
so when it comes to public domain comics, what are those comics? And if I want to use one of those, like, if it's one, like, usually most of those old comics, you don't want to be sitting around flopping pages on some of them. Just right?
Print it out. There's like a website, like, was it Comic Book Plus or something like that has a bunch of copyright free public domain books.
I mean,
and I know someone that has their books getting ready to come out, so he's the artist and the writer. So you could probably.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to do it. Yeah.
Create your own.
Yeah, I mean, Nottingham, that's Robin Hood. Robin Hood is public domain. I was gonna make a Robin Hood project too, and the idea is that it's called the Merry Men, and the idea is that they're all gay, and that's why they were the Merry Men, and that's why they were separate from society and shit, and that's why I made and it explains so much of the whole mythos. Yeah, and you call it the Merry Men.
Well, if anybody knows a good public domain that might be in somebody's collection, like AKA mine, that I can go grab, shoot me a line, drop me a line at Brian McClay on IG.
I think Sherlock is in public domain too, isn't he?
Yeah, and H.G. Wells stuff, anything pre-1920.
The Conan stuff was too. That's why a lot of those indie comics are making a bunch of Conan books and stuff.
There is a database of public domain stuff, but they're characters. And does that mean one of the characters is like Blue Beetle? Can I just go grab any Blue Beetle, like old Blue Beetle shit, and that means I'm cool with it? Or, does that mean I can use DC's Blue Beetle stuff? Can I use Charleston's Blue Beetle stuff? Can I only use the super old Blue Beetle stuff from, the 40s and stuff?
George Harrison.
Yeah, the old stuff. And then you make your own take on it. Because everyone's making a Monkey King character too in DC and Marvel. They're all trying to make a Monkey King, and they're trying to establish the one, because it's your take on it too that can affect.
Right. Yeah. Like Thor, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Thor is a god, so you can make Thor. Because that's why DC made Thor in the Wonder Woman book, and you can't do anything about it because it's. You should check out my Thor book. He's actually gay, and it explains so much about what's going on in
Rainbow Bridge,
Asgard. Yeah, the Rainbow Bridge, everything. Like,
So that's my part of that.
Beardo. One more thing.
Ooh. My one more thing is a pretty big one, and that is I need to make more room for more books in the comic dojo down here. Motor City Comic Con's like 2.5 weeks away. So I've got a Whatnot auction every Friday, the next 2 Fridays, to get books gone. Because this is the first major convention that me and the CEO of the Comic Dojo have been to in almost 2 years. Or since C2E2, the original, that one. So we need to make room. We need to make like several short boxes worth of room. So we're going to do Whatnot.
Freeze up on you, kick you out. I've heard people have had issues getting their auctions freezing up.
We'll see what happens, but either way, I've got two of them scheduled Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go on, hit the bookmark, and you don't even have to buy anything. Come hang out. I mean, it's more about hanging out for me and having a blast. We'll see what happens, though, right?
Yeah. BYOB, bring your own books. No, I'm kidding.
Why not? Reading club.
Dan.
yeah. So. Yeah, I like snack late at night a lot, and I think a lot of us snack late at night. And it's not good for us. We snack too much. Snacks are not good, right? So, I recently realized, I didn't know this, but you can like just buy a bag of chickpeas, soak them, and then roast them in the oven for almost an hour at 400 degrees, and they become these like very light and crunchy snacks that you can season them too, but it's like crunchy like a potato chip. It's not as dense as you think, and I don't even like hummus. This is so much better than hummus, and you can snack on it all day, and you're not gonna get all fucked up and out of shape and stuff, and it's as satisfying as like junk. So I've been tricking myself, and there's this amazing YouTube video of this Italian grandmother doing the recipe too. And she's like, you put the chickpeas in the water, and I add the orange, and it has the orange taste. And I would check out that video because it's amazing.
I'm going to watch it right now.
Orange skin in the water that soaks the chickpeas before she roasts them. And it's her mother used to make it. But it's a great, cheap snack.
I have to look into that. Did you make a video on it?
I'm gonna do it for cooking for Damien.
There we go.
I'm gonna talk about how like they needed healthy snacks and they're athletes, but I've never seen them in the Olympics or anything. I don't know what's going on. Like, just weird stories about Wayne Manor.
Yeah, make sure you guys check out Dank Comics on YouTube. Ryan.
First of all, thanks for letting me be on tonight. I had a blast, and I appreciate my family letting me get in here. I had a newborn. He's about 2 weeks old now, and he was able to sleep right before I got on here, so it was awesome.
That's one, man. I don't know, throw salt over your shoulder or whatever, because, that's a miracle.
She's probably out there. My wife's probably handling up right now, so I appreciate her very much. So looking forward to seeing Venom on Friday. I already got my ticket. I'm going to check it out in some type of XD theater that has some kind of not 4D seats, but similar to 4D, but not 4D. They're called D box seats or something like that. So I'm looking to see what that's about. I've done 4D before, and I didn't like it. It was very distracting. But they said specifically these are not distracting, and they're not like 4D seats. So, and you can control the how intense it is or whatever it does. So look forward to see what that's going to be about. And also one more thing, but I do have I used to do some stuff on YouTube, and I'm going to be getting back into some YouTube stuff. And I'm working with a buddy of mine. I played metal for 20 years, and a buddy of my drummer and I are just looking to do a show called Cracker Low in Rhino's Earhole. It's going to be about it's going to be music and stuff that we're into, like comic books, and he's into hunting. It's like that. We have two opposite types of opinions because he's like a country boy that played metal, and I'm like a surfer that played metal, and we have like really weird hobbies that are completely opposite. So it's going to be, we have a lot of conversations, and usually after we get done talking, I don't have to do ab workouts because we laugh so much. My stomach is hurting. So looking forward to that. We'll talk a lot of metal and just hobbies, but that'll be coming in the near future and off the YouTube channel. But and you can just go to Rhino's. Right now it's Rhino's comic review, and it might be Rhino's review in the future. And the Facebook page, just rhinos ... You can go to that and get linked in on the page there, and I'll be filtering information through there. But I appreciate it letting me be on tonight. I had a blast.
Dude, we're glad to have you on. We'll definitely have you on again for sure.
I'll do a review of Venom if you want.
Yeah, there we go. Tony, what you got?
Yes. Yeah, well, you all have such interesting. One last thing, I'm gonna go straight capitalism, and hawk my books for my Whatnot sale tomorrow. We got a lot of viewers who probably have no idea what that even is. I know people who buy and sell comics a lot are pretty aware, but if you don't know what Whatnot is, go check it out on your Android or iPhone. It's basically a live stream. It's almost like anybody can have their own home shopping network where they can sell collectibles. You got sports cards, Pokemon, action figures, and for us, comic books. It's good for the sellers. It's also good for the buyers because there's a lot of shows on right now.
I'll say it's really good for the buyers right now.
Yeah, if there's only 10 viewers and there's happens to be some big books popping up, you might get yourself a really good deal. I've been giving advice. You might get
some angry sellers.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. You know, it is a risk. I've been advising sellers to not put big books up yet, maybe because there's not a lot of big name buyers. But tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Central, I'm going to totally break my own rule. I've got a short box of 29 slabs, and we're starting everything at $1.
Everything was good.
I'll be there.
I'll be there. We're going to see what happens.
What? I'll be there.
I don't know. Love that cover, man.
Oh, nice.
So we'll see.
I love foil.
Remarked Ghost Rider.
Foil.
Some Hulk. Some What If.
You know, Andy, I think that's what I'm going to collect you after I get done with
children.
Foil.
Wait, that's got my name on it right there. That Orzu cover.
Orzu. We got some Neil.
So if they follow you on Instagram on Blue Green Artifacts, do you have the link to your Whatnot profile on your Instagram? Or just go to Whatnot and search for Blue Green? How do they find you on Whatnot?
Yep, Blue Green Artifacts. Blue Green _Artifacts.
And what time is your show?
Fan. You seen that cover before, Rhino?
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yep,
one.
that's from volume. That's from volume 3.
Yep, 151 in the Stanley box. But
is that the Santa?
But yeah, come check it out. Even if you don't buy something from me, it is a good place to it's fun. It can be a little bit addicting when you first get into it. You start watching. Steve Horn calls it the Mirrorverse. You get stuck in the Mirrorverse for a while. But no, it's a good time.
Yeah, my one more thing. Been working my butt off, and I usually come back and when I get home from work and have a moment. I've just been watching some TV and just unwinding. Raising Kanan on Stars. If you guys are a fan of that Powerverse, love Raising Kanan. Netflix Squid Game. We were talking about that before we started. Awesome show on Netflix, and I am super excited for not Venom, the Venom versus Carnage. Sorry, Rhino. That movie looks stupid to me. And I love Tom Hardy, and I love Woody Harrelson, and I will still probably see it, but I'm just like, I'm let down. But Saints of Newark.
I'm going with low expectations.
Yeah, I'm super excited for Saints of Newark. And I will be watching that on HBO Max, though.
Yeah, shout out Joey Diaz.
Yeah. And you got Gandolfini's son playing young Tony, right? So
Joey Diaz is in that movie?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's great, man.
Wow.
It looks like he does a really good job.
Yeah.
I fully expect him to ruin this movie.
It's funny to coke in the background.
Yeah. Well, it's funny to have like Joey Diaz playing a role that the guy who played Big Pussy, like, you know, he was in, and everybody mistakes them too for each other.
Yeah, that's exactly when you said Joey Diaz. Then I thought of Big Pussy.
Yeah.
But the character, The character.
Yes, the character. Yeah.
From Sopranos. But either way, I want to thank everyone that's been in the chat. I want to thank people that the super chat tonight. A couple super chats in there. Thank you so much because that goes back into the channel as well. Every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, talk about the comic book news of the week. And, of course, do have that last call. I missed last week. Like I said, it's working. But last call, final cutoff video will be back again this week. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is Brown Superman's Comics. See you guys in the next video.
Look, they talking like they don't know a king when they see one. See him in person, he take it back like a refund. Ballin' with my brothers, all my playing D1. Daily checking chicken, he gon' spin it watching reruns. Say they